T-shirts.
Right,
So-
but they're probably in pretty good condition.
No, they're actually not because they've been washed dozens of times.
Okay, but
Because I've used
see,
them many
that's where
times
you
over the
lose. You gotta figure out how to do this. But I think that
Chris, we don't have that many homeless people. I don't know if you've been on Macy's lately, or
Yeah.
I don't want to name, the big retailers, but don't you feel like there are way too many products?
I think the problem is this,
and it's too
but-
generic.
But let's go
like,
back.
look at these
Right.
creations here. Why we don't see this in
No,
the
but
stores,
I think
right?
Ben hit a point which I think Miguel also alluded to, which is this: you want the person who's buying fashion isn't necessarily the mindless person from 40 years ago who was parodied in a John Hughes movie, let's say. It's somebody who's probably much more interested in saving the planet, but also is interested in quality. And we're a fairly affluent group. Let's be honest here. That's probably where this starts first. But secondarily, it also gets out of people thinking that there's FOMO or that they're disassociated from this. And the reason that they're not, back to Miguel's point, is that it's just nobody had anything to do but watch what other people were doing or being online during the pandemic. But that was a tipping point that we had led to. So if we can use all of that mass, and back to what Ben's talking about, to educate people in a way that's also entertaining about sustainability, I think that gets to the heart of the matter, because people don't want to think about what's in their landfill. Unless their cousin was lost one Friday night. But Krishnan, you've got something over there that I think is really interesting, because that idea, to me, that democratization is sort of like an upsell in terms of what needs to happen, right?
Yes, look, I think there is always going to be a challenge if you can tell people, buy organic, don't look at the landfills, and this is where the planet is going. But at the end of the day, if there is a trend out there, I think the other day I was watching a documentary on, I forget the name of that company. It's called anyway, I forget. It's the teenagers who are buying. Every week they drop $2,000. There's Shine, obviously.
Right.
But there was another documentary I saw on the flight here, and I can't remember the Madison something. But anyway, I think the point is you have to give them something in return, right? And that's something which is, what do they have today? They have the immediacy. They want something, they get it. Right now it's on trend and they get it, right? But how can you give them something else where, they think of something, and what are they getting in return for a manufactured on demand or produced on demand? Because that's obviously
But this is time. That's right. But this is the last 10 years we've seen some of this. I don't know if Tim from Theodore is here, but there he is. So he's got a jacket that's got an NFC chip in it. Okay, and part of the whole idea of this thing of the life cycle of the clothing. How many of you know Vinted? I think most of you should. They may have an IPO here in New York soon. So Lithuanian company in the vintage clothing space. So I think that we do have people who are doing this, but I think it needs to have more of a mission, right?
And I think personalization can be that trade-off, right? So if you allow people to then personalize, then you got a print on demand or manufacturing on demand sort of a benefit, right? Where then it's not excessive waste. Everybody wants something, and the supply matches the demand rather than you're producing way more than than the demand. Right?
I want to have you all speak to this topic in a second, but I want to also talk about what has happened in the last 5-6 years with showrooming and shopping. We worked with a Swedish company, Bambuser, years ago, who was really one of the pioneers in digital video. I knew them when they launched, then we were helping them here in the US. But they did a major pivot, and I rarely use that term, but their current CEO took them into the live shopping idea. So basically saying you've got a pop-up space like this Canvas 3.0 gallery, and you're taking people around and you're interacting with them. So it's not necessarily saying we have looky-loo foot traffic or we're wasting shelves. You could have AR, complements that people could see on empty shelves with green screens or whatever you can do. I think that that's a hipper way to do things, but I think that part of what we have to solve, and I want to go on down the line here, is solve the tactile issue of owning something. and sort of conquering that. So Miguel, I mean, is that? I think we have to conquer that to get through this fast fashion issue. So how do we do that?
That's
In 20
a good question.
words or less.
Honestly, like, fashion is analog, right? We all like to wear it. We all like to experience it. I think with digital fashion, where I'm looking forward to it progressing, is being able to experience digital fashion in more areas that feel to the level that we experience in real life. And I think once we get there, that's going to be where the big unlock is going to be with digital fashion. And I think all the work that's being done right now is going to put us in a good place to get there. I just always go back to, as a consumer, it's just being mindful about your purchases, what you're purchasing, buy things that you love, understand how they're made, what they're made out of, and just go from there. And I think with fast fashion, it's so excessive that there's just, there's so much to do there in terms of how they're producing, why they're producing product in particular, who are the end customers, and then how they're made to really tackle a lot of these sustainability issues.
Yeah. So Tatiana, I know you are going to solve this problem for us.
I'm one of many people in fashion technology that are innovating every day. But I also part of a collective approach. So we need to collaborate more. We need to reach out to each other more. It's not one startup that can solve it. This is my pitch to, again, people in digital. Get out of the cocoon of your metaverse, reach out to real fashion and see the point, reach the point where the product, again, can and should start with the digital and being put to the consumer. And we and many other people in our field can help you guys to aggregate demand in real time and see, if it's worth to be worn. And then hopefully beautiful creation like this will be not only on, exist in Meta, with all due respect to my esteemed colleagues here, but we can wear it. But now we see very generic products because it's people trying to minimize risks. But there are other ways to how to minimize risk, how to invest not in the inventory, but invest in the consumer, invest in bringing them as a collective, as a community to your product.
Yeah. And Ben, what's your take on solving this problem?
Well, again, waste starts at home, and it just doesn't apply to a fashion, but digital fashion, as we're coming to know it now, is a new form of human creative expression. And whether you're designing it or you're consuming it or buying it or admiring it, it's a next level thing. So when it comes to the interoperability aspect of it, I was curious, in the audience, who knows what or has heard of VRM? Anybody? VRM? All right, just a couple of hands. So VRM is an interoperable avatar platform. And there are many avatar platforms, and there's commercial ones and proprietary ones and ones that belong to platforms and so forth. But the ability to transport, if you're having digital fashion, you want to put it on an avatar, your clothing, something, right? So the ability to take that and put it on a avatar that will work on multiple platforms is something that, when it comes to
that's huge. It's a huge issue. We would think it wouldn't be, but it is, and it also gets into the gamification of fashion. And Krishnan, I'm sure you're working on pieces of this as well, right? I put words in your mouth. You're working on this democratization from the standpoint of what digital fashion is bringing.
Well, absolutely. I think so. The way we see solving the problem is to give access to fashion design. So you have multiple levels of this. Going back to the conversation around photography, right?
Right.
You have you have independent designers that you want to nurture, but I think that progression is independent designers and then finally access to everybody, where everybody is a fashion designer, right? And how would that everybody as a fashion designer manifest itself? That's possibly personalization. So you move to a world where everybody is creating what they want to wear,
Right.
right? And then you have manufacturing that matches the demand out there, and everything is done in small batches, right? So you go to a world where
Yes.